This is what a trip to the supermarket looks like in Venezuela.
A lot of people have come up to us to tell us how angry they are because they've been here for over 12 hours and they're not being able to get what they came to buy.
This man in blue warns us, they've seen you. And then we're surrounded by soldiers. We're told to stop filming. We managed to keep recording audio. Welcome to my country, Venezuela. A country of food queues that the government doesn't want us filming. A country in the grip of hunger, where a shopping trip can end in a riot. A crippling economic and political crisis means people living on top of the largest oil reserves on the planet are struggling to find food. I'm heading out to the countryside where I hear the situation is acute. But I've barely left Venezuela's capital when we're stopped.
There's a roadblock ahead. As soon as we got off the car, people had just started shouting and telling us that they're hungry, really.
They told me they had been protesting for 3 days with no government answer. Their banner is a petition to the government for help.
This is what they're saying they eat mangoes that they get from the tree, that's all. ¿Quién es el culpable de esto?
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro faces an economic crisis unlike any Venezuela has seen before. The socialist experiment his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, began 17 years ago is failing, triggering massive food shortages. They let us on our way. I'm traveling across Venezuela to the far west of the country. For me, personally, this will be a difficult journey. Much of my close family still live in Venezuela, and it's painful to see hunger in my own country. I'm visiting the country's second largest city, Maracaibo. I've heard the food crisis is particularly bad. Away from the city, this is a poor region of rural hamlets and fishing villages. For Venezuelans already on the breadline, hunger is now a constant. A meal of plain rice.
Esta es la comida más fuerte del día.
Esa es la que yo me como. Esa es la única que se acuesta con esto. Ahora y se acuesta con eso.
Esto es lo único que van a comer hoy.
Eso es lo único que yo como. Aventado. Porque ya a las 4 estamos un pelo ocupados.
This is Zulay Florido. Everyone knows her here. Her children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren make up much of this village. She's barely able to feed them once a day, but there are people even worse off here.
These two girls are just asking Zulay.
¿Por qué lo voy a decir? Pero no teníamos hambre. No teníamos hambre. Ahorita mis hijas salen a pedir para poder mantener sus hijos. Tengo unas embarazadas que no tienen para comer y tienen que salir a pedir al mundo. Aquí ya está pasando mucha hambre, demasiada hambre. Aquí no puede decir nadie que no está pasando hambre. Con la situación que puso Maduro.
Belle.
Nearby, this woman, feeding her baby with sugared water. She said she can't produce breast milk. She's too malnourished. She was eating 3 times a day when she took this picture a year ago. Her other children play at cooking. There's a lot of fear here to talk about what's going on, the hunger, the malnutrition. Medics don't want to speak out in the open because they fear losing their jobs. And the authorities don't let you go inside hospitals to film what's happening. But one of the doctors has said enough is enough, and now she wants to talk to us.
Jamás en mis 8 años como pediatra y en mi edad de vida que tengo nunca había visto una situación actual como la que estamos atravesando ahorita. O sea, es de verdad que es una situación bastante deprimente. Ahorita en estos momentos estamos enfrentando una situación de desnutrición materno-infantil y hasta incluso de sus padres, porque el padre a veces prefiere darles alimentos a sus hijos que tampoco es la cantidad adecuada, entonces se está viendo ese índice nutricional que no es adecuado porque no abastece el núcleo familiar. Ha incrementado el número de pacientes con diarrea porque la dieta no es balanceada y no es adecuada para la edad.
It's one thing to interview people who you've never met before that tell you how they're facing hunger, but another thing is to talk to your own family and find out the same things. Like my father, I just met him and he's just lost so much weight. My dad used to be a robust man and now you can see his cheekbones. I'm back in the capital, Caracas, to see if things are any better.
Ya no tenemos comida.
¿Cuántas veces come usted al día, señor?
A veces
Más de 500 bolívares y ya se acabó. Tenemos rato buscando comida y no hay nada. Esa es la verdad, que no sepa el mundo entero. Nos estamos muriendo de hambre y el gobierno no hace nada.
So what people are telling you here is that there's a lot of hunger, that they can't buy the food that they need. There's a lot of anger in the streets here in Caracas.
There is some food on sale, but most people can't afford to buy it. Venezuela has the highest inflation in the world, and it's hitting the poor hardest. A worker on the minimum wage would now have to work for a year and a half to buy a month's food for the family.
¿Y ese pescado no le sirve para comer?
No, señor, porque donde hay una cantidad de gente, ¿cuánto cuesta ese pescado? 1.500. ¿10 personas van a comer con pescado? No, pues no.
Mira, el plátano buen y barato, mira, ve, epa, hagan la cola que esté barato.
To help the poor, the government has put strict pre-inflation price controls on key essentials like flour and rice, but there's simply not enough of that to go around. Even in middle-class areas like this, large queues for food have become common.
This is an example of how bad things are right now to buy food. That is the supermarket, and those queues of people who have been there since the early hours, they've been told there's flour today. These queues just literally go around all of the building, go downstairs into the basement, and then come up again until they're finally able to get into the supermarket, hoping to get flour. One person told us that he'd been there since 3 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon another day, and he was only able to get 2 packs of flour.
How did it get to this? Long before the current president took power, Venezuela was the scene of a radical political experiment.
These are the barrios, the slums, where millions of people live all across the country. 17 years ago, one man promised to change this.
His name was Hugo Chavez, and his picture is still everywhere in the slums. Politicians had always ignored these neighborhoods. During Chavez's 14-year rule, he sunk profits from high oil prices into barrio health projects, housing and food assistance. Chavez died of cancer 3 years ago. Before dying, he handed power to this man, current President Nicolás Maduro. I watched him host Venezuela's Independence Day parade. Maduro inherited Chavez's socialist experiment, but not the high oil prices that finance his public spending and bought goodwill among supporters. His popularity has plunged as many Venezuelans blamed their hunger on his mismanagement. The government says it's not to blame, that it's the victim of an economic war waged by speculators and even foreign powers intent on regime change in Venezuela.
Capataces de amos imperiales que pretenden volver a las tinieblas de la esclavitud a un pueblo que ha conocido la luz de la libertad. Ya hemos preparado un plan especial para seguir enfrentando la guerra no convencional. Y sé que cuento con la Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana. Y sé que cuento con el pueblo.
This is where the Venezuelan government shows its military strength with planes, with tanks, with missile launchers. This is a country in crisis, but here they're trying to show that they are still strong.
And amid this crowd, at least, he appears to enjoy enthusiastic support in spite of the food shortages.
Maduro está haciendo todo lo que dejó el legado, mi comandante Chávez. Yo quiero mucho a Chávez porque yo soy pobre, yo estoy cobrando mi pensión por mi presidente Chávez, gracias a Dios.
These taxi drivers had travelled from the far west of the country to show support for Maduro. But support doesn't come completely free. The whole country is reeling from high food prices, and they were expecting the government to provide new taxis to help them make a living. No mention of that today.
Ni nos saludó ni siquiera. ¿Dónde están los taxis? Venimos de lejos. Nos prometió taxi, ni siquiera nos saludó. El presidente de Venezuela.
Those people we just spoke to, they're the core of the Maduro support. They are the supporters of the president. But once we stopped filming, some of them came up to me to say that they're struggling with the crisis and they blame the president.
So what is the government doing to alleviate people's hunger? I've been given access to a distribution centre. You have to register with the government to collect food here at specific times, although supplies are not regular.
This is a government-run program to get cheap food at a fixed price. So we've got milk, flour, pasta, cooking oil, butter. These are the things that at the black markets are sold at a much higher price, almost 25%, 30% of the monthly minimum wage. As in any government program in Venezuela, there's always Maduro and Chavez overseeing everything.
It all looks very calm and ordered, and today well stocked. Well, this is a distribution centre the government has allowed us to film. At another distribution centre, in one of the city's largest slums, it's a different scene.
People do not have access to this in an easy way, and all this riot police that we have outside of this market is because people get restless, impatient, and riots happen quite often.
We have to stay in the car, and not just to avoid arrest for filming. This neighborhood is home to pro-government gangs known as colectivos, or collectives.
There are armed groups which control this area, and they don't allow the media to film this because of the big queues, because it affects the government, its image. Our contacts here have identified different people to us who they say are the ones who run it. These are people who are armed, these are people who are dangerous, who have attacked the media before, and that's why we need to stay here in the car and look at it from here.
The colectivos are concentrated in the city's poorest and most crime-ridden neighborhoods. Access to them is rare, but a member of one has agreed to meet us. Alejandro grew up in this block of flats in the Katia slum. He says the collectives aren't thugs and don't deserve their bad reputation. They're a community support network that also helps maintain law and order.
En los barrios siempre ha habido armas, siempre ha habido armas. Antes las tenía el AMPA, ahora no las tiene el AMPA. Ahora están en defensa de la revolución.
He says it devastates him to see people queuing for food in the neighborhoods below, but believes the government is doing all it can and still believes in a political project he says changed the lives of the poor.
Chávez nos abrió los ojos, Chávez nos dio poder y nos dijo que esto nos pertenecía y nosotros no pertenecíamos a esto, esto era nuestra realidad. Nosotros nos condenaron a estar aquí en estos bloques, nos condenaron a trabajar como jardineros, nos condenaron a trabajar como choferes, a trabajar como ascensoristas. Y con Chávez estudiamos, con Chávez compramos nuestro apartamento, con Chávez mejoramos nuestra calidad de vida.
If there's support for Maduro anywhere, it's in these neighborhoods. But even here, the food crisis and mismanagement is turning people against the government. We pass a line of people waiting to buy from a government food store.
Hay muchas irregularidades que nos están metiendo solamente en un solo artículo y tú crees que con un solo artículo tú vas a comer un mes.
¿Cómo hacemos nosotros como Consejo Comunal para combatir eso?
Bueno, nosotros hemos venido a reuniones porque se han venido a reuniones, ¿sí o no, Carlos? Y siempre nos dicen lo mismo, que eso es lo que hay, que eso es lo que es, porque eso es lo que hay.
Alejandro takes us to meet some people piloting what the government says is a long-term plan to solve the food crisis.
Esto era un basurero prácticamente. Sí. Entonces se ha ido limpiando y se está generando una cama para establecer el espacio. Aquí esperamos suministrar a los consejos comunales plántulas para que ellos lleven y hagan su trabajo de ensemillamiento en sus propios sectores o en su casa.
The government envisages small urban farms sprouting between the apartment blocks of Caracas to help make Venezuela self-sufficient in food and even medicine.
En vez de comprar yo un atamel a una empresa transnacional de medicina, con un laboratorio de medicinas internacional, yo prefiero mejor llevarme mi medicina natural.
Urban gardening. Will that feed a country of 30 million people? It's unlikely to help people like Zulay and her family when their children say they're hungry.
¿Cuál es el futuro que esperamos? Bueno, como lo deseamos todos, que todo vuelva a la normalidad como estaba antes. Que uno salga a dar una parte y uno consiga las cosas, las medicinas, la comida, la solución de todo. Y que haya un cambio.
Viene mi familia como se está cada día destruyendo más. El hambre que hay, la pobreza que hay. En mi alcance está de ayudarlos, pero no los puedo ayudar. Porque yo también estoy igualito.
Coming from here, having lived here a lot of my life, as I come to the end of my time here in Venezuela, the saddest thing that I've seen in this country throughout this time is the fact that people have lost the power of deciding when and what to eat. And it's such a simple idea, but it's so significant in anyone's life. When you meet people at food queues or at roadblocks where they're protesting to get food, the look in their eyes, there's despair.
President Maduro's official term lasts until 2019. An opposition movement is pushing for a referendum to remove him from office early. For now, Venezuelans will have to wait in line.